Baryon Mode may have been the greatest power-up we have ever seen in the Naruto franchise. It was so strong in fact that Kishimoto was forced to make sure that Naruto would never be able to use this form ever again. However, Daemon's debut shook up Boruto's power scaling significantly, and after Daemon shut down all of the big names of Boruto Part 1, the question swiftly became, can this child really take on the GOAT himself, in by far his strongest form, or is Baryon Mode Naruto simply too strong and experienced for the likes of Daemon to be able to handle? All of those questions will be answered in this video, but just quickly I want to know from you guys, do you think it makes sense for a child to wield so much power rather than someone slightly more experienced? As it doesn't sit quite right with me that one of the strongest characters in the verse is simply just a kid. Regardless of that, let's discuss how and why Baryon Mode Naruto almost solos his entire universe. So first of all, I want to cover exactly how Baryon Mode works. The name Baryon is essentially a subclass of particle which is composed of 3 quarks. Quarks are fundamental particles, but essentially they are what make up more well-known particles like protons or neutrons. Baryons are part of the hadron class where you have baryons and mesons. Mesons are composed of a quark and antiquark pair, but they are not relevant to this, and we just want to focus on baryons for the time being, which are the protons and neutrons. Now the reason I believe that this power-up is called Baryon Mode is because it is trying to insinuate that the chakra is being broken down into its fundamental form, or at least the smallest and simplest form that it can be in. And then we are using these extremely small pieces of chakra for another use to create an even larger energy source. So Kurama states that this power works in a similar way to nuclear fusion, which if you didn't know is what makes the sun so hot or gives it so much energy. And it is simply when 2 protons collide and stick together to make a heavier particle. But since a mass is lost in this collision, the lost mass is converted into a large amount of energy due to E equals mc squared. Now a proton before undergoing fusion already has a lot of energy due to it being so hot, and we can compare that proton to the fundamental chakra, which we currently don't have a name for. But the smallest component of chakra essentially are protons in this situation. So chakra fundamentally already has a lot of energy, as when people use that chakra, it's going to significantly boost all of their physical attributes. And even when we compress chakra, the easiest example is the Rasengan, we can see it is purely just a ball of energy. So now if we start fusing the chakra together, the energy release is significantly higher than just having a ball of chakra. The way that we fuse this chakra together is the same way that is done in nuclear fusion, and hence the amount of energy after is a lot more than the energy before. However, you will eventually run out of that energy, as when you fuse all of those fundamental pieces of chakra, there is no more fusion which can occur, and eventually you will just run out of resources, and hence you run out of chakra, and that is also why there is such a big time limit on Baryon Mode. I can't give an exact number, but just know the energy provided by fused chakra is at least 10 times more than normal chakra, if it works in the same way that nuclear fusion works. So we can now somewhat quantify how big of a boost Naruto underwent from this power up. Since chakra is the fundamental power behind everything in the Narutoverse, increasing the amount of chakra or the potency of the chakra made Naruto much stronger. This meant that Naruto became significantly stronger than Ishiki in this form, as Naruto was able to catch the rods that Ishiki shot out against him, which he wasn't able to previously even see the trajectory of. I think it's clear that Naruto and Sasuke were a tier below Jigen, then Jigen was a tier below Ishiki, and now Ishiki became a tier below Naruto in that form. But the thing I think a lot of people confuse about this is thinking that Ishiki is stronger than Naruto in this form, simply due to him outlasting him, but that is simply incorrect. Ishiki may have outlasted Naruto, but we all know that Baryon Mode Naruto had roughly a 5-minute time limit, due to how quickly the fuel that was causing this chakra fusion ran out quicker and quicker at an exponential rate. So Naruto was focusing on hitting Ishiki as much as possible to drain his life force, rather than trying to kill Ishiki using brute force. Since Kurama stated that if Baryon Mode didn't have the ability to drain a user's life force, though Naruto may have been much stronger than Ishiki right now, Ishiki would be able to withstand Naruto for those 5 minutes. But that is generally the extent of how Baryon Mode works, and I will discuss a little bit more when I describe the matchup between him and Daemon, but for now I want to move on to Daemon's powers and his strengths. So Daemon was a cyborg that was created by Amado, likely in order to aid Kara in their plans. But due to Jigen viewing Daemon as too much of a threat to him, he ordered Daemon to be destroyed. However, he was instead taken to one of Kara's hidden facilities and held inside of that chamber for whatever reason they may have had. Now, as far as I'm aware, Amado was not aware that Daemon had not been destroyed. However, if he knew that he was still alive and didn't use him to help defeat Ishiki, then I think there is borderline no chance that Daemon could beat Baryon Mode Naruto. Since if Daemon isn't at least close to Ishiki in terms of power, it's it's pretty much pointless comparing Daemon to Baryon Mode Naruto. So I'm gonna assume that Amado thought he had been destroyed and that he was truly shocked to see Daemon and Ada were still alive. Anyways, in terms of feats, Daemon's first real showing of anything impressive was completely dismantling Code after he got his limiters removed. But the thing is, Daemon didn't even use his reflection abilities during this battle, meaning he beat Code without limiters using pure strength. This battle also wasn't even remotely close, since Code didn't even come anywhere near landing a punch and was simply just outmatched in every single attribute. Now the reason I bring this up was Code is supposed to be a threat beyond jougan without his limiters, meaning that if this statement is true, Daemon should be able to no-diff jougan in a one-on-one battle. Now this makes me think straight away that Daemon is probably on a similar level to Ishiki, since I assume that Ishiki would have been able to no-diff jougan as well, due to jougan just being an impartial vessel of his true self. And the next feat of strength is kind of like the last one we see, and is how he easily managed to catch the rods from Kama v2 Kawaki, and obviously defeating Kawaki in the process. So this version of Kawaki is undoubtedly stronger than Jougan, however I believe the gap in power between them two isn't as significant as it may seem. Kama v2 Kawaki is a perfect vessel, and we see that he was able to slowly awaken the full dojutsu that Ishiki had, rather than just having that one white triangle like Jougan may have had. So the speed of the chakra rods are likely a little bit slower than Ishiki, and the reason I say this is because Ishiki was able to dodge these rods multiple times, and although he did end up essentially losing to Kawaki in this form, he was still able to dodge those rods, which means it is almost confirmed to be much slower than the rod summoned by Ishiki. But what makes Daemon so damn strong is how Amado used Shibai's genetics in order to create Daemon as a cyborg. Now we don't know how much of a boost that this can give to someone, but I think it obviously means that Daemon is partly Otsutsuki, meaning that he has the ability to fly and likely absorb jutsu in some capacity at some point in the future. So essentially we are just speculating about Daemon, however there is also that ability to reflect killing intent. This power is slightly weird since Bug stated that Daemon needed to be in contact with his palms with another person in order to reflect an attack. However, we saw against Kawaki that Daemon was able to reflect the intent, not the attack, whilst not touching anyone at the time. But there is a slight loophole we could use here if Baryon Mode Naruto was facing off against Daemon. So it is clear that Naruto is far stronger than Daemon, however the question is, could Daemon outlast that 5-minute time restriction of Baryon Mode Naruto? So since Naruto is draining Daemon's life force with each punch, I wouldn't class that as necessarily killing intent, which would mean that I doubt that Daemon's reflection would be as potent with these attacks, and I also think that Daemon's reflection is less potent against stronger opponents in general. What makes Naruto so strong in Baryon Mode is he can still use all those crafty fighting styles, however compared to previously, he got that Boruto style buff in the form of just raw power. All the strong characters in Boruto are quite simple in terms of their fighting style and don't utilize many tactics at all. However, Naruto is an extremely tactical fighter, but the problem that he had was he lacked any of the raw power that most of the Boruto characters actually had. So now give him Baryon Mode, he will have access to the raw power that all Boruto strong characters have, but also he will be able to use his own fighting style and dismantle the likes of Daemon. Daemon is just a kid at this point in the story and has likely done next to no training to be a ninja or fight using proper techniques or anything like that, and he would likely just try and brute force fights like we saw him do previously. So unless during the time skip he underwent a lot of training, a kid is just going to lack the battle IQ compared to Naruto, and Naruto knowing this would easily be able to use those tactics and potent jutsu to rinse Daemon of all of his life force. However, the problem is, due to Daemon being a cyborg, he doesn't seem to age. So the question then becomes, does reducing his life force actually do anything? Or perhaps because his life force is so large, is it even worth Naruto trying to go for those attacks? And the problem is Naruto would have to figure out all of this in those 5 minutes, and also he needs to find a workaround for the reflection abilities, assuming it works against Naruto in this form. So essentially Naruto would be able to overpower Daemon significantly, but if Daemon manages to stall for long enough, he would be able to gain the upper hand as Naruto slowly runs out of energy from Baryon Mode. However, with that all said, I think it's about time I crown the winner for this battle. So I've weighed up the strengths and weaknesses of both of them, but ultimately I believe that Baryon Mode Naruto would be able to defeat Daemon in a one-on-one battle despite the time limitations of this form. I think Daemon would scale to be close to Ishiki in terms of raw power, however Ishiki had thousands and thousands of years of combat experience, and since Daemon has nowhere near that as well as the immaturity, Naruto will be able to take advantage of every weakness of Daemon's due to the experience, and it will be close, don't get me wrong, but I truly believe that if this fight was to occur, Naruto would come out on top. But obviously let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, if you did enjoy, please consider subscribing and liking as it helps out this channel massively. But with that all said, I hope you enjoyed and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.